Hello again everyone, and welcome to the follow-up video to the video I released about a week ago now talking about the changes here on YouTube that have been affecting the channel. And to start things off, I just want to say thank you to everyone who commented with kind words of support, and also to those of you who signed up to become patrons. Your support truly does mean everything to me, as without all of you, I wouldn't be where I am right now. That being said, as great as it was to hear all those kind words of support, I also saw that a lot of you confirmed my suspicions, which is great, but also terrible at the same time, because that means that, as I feared, a lot of you aren't seeing my videos anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the way YouTube is handling its algorithm now, which is something I can't really control, but at the very least I can get the word out like I am doing right now and like I did in the previous video, not just for myself, but for the creators that all of you love and I love as well, who are also struggling. Speaking of which, a lot of creators commented on the last video talking about how they're feeling the same thing right now. So, as I said then, make sure to check on your favorite creators and see if you're still seeing their videos or if they're doing all right, as it's clearly not just happening to me. So once again, check on your favorite creators and see if you haven't been seeing their uploads lately. I only wish all the best for everyone on this platform, and I hope that these issues get resolved soon, and if they don't, well, we all might just have to work a little harder to make sure that the people who want to watch our stuff are able to do so and are seeing it. What's funny about all this too is that last video that I released, it actually had way more impressions and a much higher click-through rate than any video that I've released in the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months. And maybe that has to do with the kind of drama-looking aspect of it. You know, we need to talk. The algorithm kind of likes videos like that, or just that it grabbed your guys' attention. I'm not sure. But it's just interesting that out of all my videos lately, that was the one that got pushed out the most. So thank you, YouTube, for helping to push out a video that was talking about how bad of a job you've been doing lately. I very much appreciate you doing that because, like I said, the only way to draw attention to this issue is to draw attention to it. So it's getting attention, and that's good. But that being said, the other thing that I think is relevant for a situation like this is what I talked about in the last video. I'm not going to go too in detail here. If you haven't seen the last video, you can listen to all my ideas of why I think this is the way forward for my channel and probably a lot of channels of my size or smaller going forward. And that is direct support from all of you. So to kind of protect the channel from the changes that YouTube may make in the future or have already made, your support means everything. And if you want to support the channel even more than just watching it, which is fantastic, I love it if you just watch and comment, but if you want to support it even more, go ahead and click the link in the description to the Patreon and sign up to become a patron if that's something that interests you. I would appreciate it greatly. Thank you in advance if you do. Now, with that being said, I haven't quite got to the point yet where I feel secure enough to move forward with all those ideas that I talked about in the last video. I am going to slowly try and get some of them out. Most likely the Evil Around the World one. That's the one that I really want to get out first. But who knows how long that's going to take. I'll give you guys updates as I go along. Now, with all that being said, one thing I want to assure you of, though, and there was a few comments on the last video saying something to this effect, but my push for patronage at this moment isn't so you can give me money so I can continue sitting on my ass or something like that. You know, I don't need your support so I can go out and buy a Ferrari. No, it's really all for the sake of the channel. It's so I can continue doing what I'm doing now at the current pace that I'm doing it, but also so that I can do it better and so I can have the income or the capital that will allow me to hire more people in the future so they can help me get these ideas that I have out and also help me work on analyzing evil at the same time. Because as I said in the last video, I pretty much do all of this on my own right now, and if I want to cover every villain who's ever existed and will ever exist in this lifetime, I can't do it alone. So that's really what it's for. And when I said I might have to pull back, I didn't mean that I would stop making videos altogether. So long as I am alive and there are people who want to see my stuff, I will continue to make videos, so don't worry about that. The only thing I meant by that is that the way things are going, I might have to get a job. You know what I mean? Then that's perfectly fine. I've had plenty of jobs in my life, and I'm more than capable of working one again. But if that's the case, obviously I'm going to have to spend a lot of time working another job, and I'll have to make less videos as a result. So it wasn't like a give me your money, or the channel's gonna go down the drain, I need the cash now. Give me the cash! But just for the sake of, continuing to push out as much content as I have been, pushing out even more content and getting new and cool ideas out to you guys as well. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And if I do have to end up making less videos for whatever reason, then I will let you guys know. But I will never stop. Analyzing evil shall continue until I croak, and you can be assured of that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is in the last video, I asked you guys, if you are seeing my videos, if the reason that you guys aren't watching anymore is because, you don't like my stuff or whatever, to please let me know why, I am a firm believer that you cannot grow unless you know where to grow from. So criticism is a good thing. As much as it might hurt sometimes, it's a good thing because it lets you know what you can improve on and how to make things better, for business, your life, anything really. Criticism is a good thing, in my opinion. Happy to say that a lot of you didn't have a lot of criticisms, which is great. And the ones who did have said things that I have seen in comments before, so they weren't exactly surprises to me. But now that I have kind of got them all gathered up together in one spot, and let you know why I might do things the way I do, or just to address them, to address some of your criticisms and maybe put you at ease a little bit. The first one I want to talk about right away is one that's not really a criticism. It's more so just kind of how the channel is. And I talked about this in the last video as well. And that's how, a lot of you don't watch the videos on characters you're not interested in, which is completely fine. I've always expected that and understood that about this channel. As I said in the last video, this channel is all about villains, and I cover every single kind of media there is. And if I haven't covered a particular type of media yet, I will in the future. So I understand if someone who really likes mob movies is watch the videos that I've made on mob movies, and they're not going to want to watch the anime videos. Perfectly fine with me. My main thing about that was I just wanted to make sure that you were seeing the ones that you wanted to see. I don't care if you don't watch the ones that you don't want to watch. I just want to make sure that you're seeing the ones that you do want to watch. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of you aren't, and that sucks, but we've already talked about that. But one of the things that goes hand in hand with that is the picks that I make. You might not be seeing the videos that you want to see from me because you're not seeing the picks that interest you the most. And, you might be wondering, why haven't I covered some of the more obvious ones that you think I should be zoning in on, And the reason for that is there's only two ways that I decide how to cover a character on this channel. And that is by popular request. I look at your guys' comments, I look at the suggestions on Discord, all different kind of places, to see who's being suggested the most, and then I try and make a video on those ones that you guys want to see. However, again, I am only one man, and a lot of the characters that I have left to cover are from very expansive materials. If it's a character from a movie, there's a book series attached to it, or one book attached to it. If it's a TV series, it has several episodes and so on and so forth, So when sometimes I pick characters that I see requested frequently or sometimes infrequently that will accommodate my workload. And what I mean by that is typically characters from movies. A good example would be the video I released just prior to this. Well, no, that was the April Fool's one. The one before the April Fool's video on Frank from Once Upon a Time in the West. And as much as he's been requested to be covered by a lot of you, I wouldn't say he's, a Tony Montana or Tony Soprano or any other Tony in the Tony pantheon. But I was working on a video for Umbrella Corp from Resident Evil for the past couple weeks, and I needed more time with it. So rather than not releasing an episode for you guys, I went back and looked for a character that was, requested a fair amount, and found one that was in just one movie, which is the easiest for me to cover because, one movie is only a couple, 3 hours long, and that's a lot easier to digest than an entire franchise full of games and books and what have you, So if you've ever seen an upload and thought, that's kind of an odd choice, well, it's not so odd. It might seem odd because it's not at the forefront of your mind. It's still someone that's requested, but it's someone that's also easier for me to cover. And my goal has always been to cover every villain out there. My motto is, if they're evil, I'll get to them eventually. So some are going to get more attention, others aren't, and that's totally fine. And I completely understand if you don't want to watch the ones that are lesser known or just not in your wheelhouse. That being said, I do want to assure all of you that I do look at your comments. I do see all the picks that you want me to cover, and I want to cover the ones that I see most often, and I plan to. Now, I have a little list here that I want to share with all of you of characters that are like on my radar. Now, I don't want to say that all these characters are going to be covered this year or in the next couple months or anything, but these are the ones that I've seen requested quite a lot, and they are the ones that I know I need to prioritize in one way or another. Just to let you know that I hear you. I want you guys to know that I hear you. So here are some of the most widely requested picks that I have seen that I plan to cover in the near future. And those are Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy, Franklin Saint from Snowfall, Theodore Bagwell from Prison Break, Vern Schillinger, and I'm not going to say Schillinger, I know he likes it that way, but I'm not going to say it, from Oz, the Bird family from Ozark, Nucky Thompson from Boardwalk Empire, Mr. Ripley from the Talented Mr. Ripley series, which is quite a lot. I didn't realize how many books and what have you were in the Talented Mr. Ripley series, or I don't even know if that's what it's called. I know that's what the movie in the 90s is called. Anyway, Neil McCauley from Heat. Now, the reason I haven't covered Neil yet is because there is like a prequel/sequel book, and they're going to be making a movie on it soon, and I wanted to wait for that movie to come out before I covered him. So, Neil, I know he's been requested quite a lot, but I'm waiting on that one. Then we have Doc Holliday from Tombstone. The movie Casino, specifically like Nicky Santoro, Ace Rothstein. I might do the whole movie and talk about, like the real life inspirations, Anthony Spilatro and all that. I'm not sure yet, but that is one that's on my radar as well. Sicario, the movie Sicario, I've seen quite a lot for that one as well. I've seen quite a few for Aaron Stampler from Primal Fear. Then The King in Yellow, that's another one. You know what, I have this little teleprompter thing with a list that I've been looking at, and I have to pause because I keep running out of room. So I'm just going to keep the remote in my hand and scroll. So Professor Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Frankenstein/Frankenstein's monster from Frankenstein, versions of Dracula. I've had a plan for a long time to do like a history of Dracula type video covering like every iteration of Dracula, which is quite the task. I might make that into its own little series though. Maybe. I still think it's a good idea. It's just a really hard one to execute. So if I don't end up making the history of Dracula video or series, then maybe I'll just start doing iterations of Dracula, but we'll see. Then we have the Republic of Gilead from Handmaid's Tale, Randall Flagg from the Dark Tower series, Kingpin from the Daredevil series, Doctor Doom, Reverse Flash, Loki, General Zod, Emperor Bellows, and then these are ones from like series. Well, not one of them. I watched Gundam when I was a kid. I don't know how to say the name. Char Aznable. Char is Abel from the Gundam series. I've seen that one requested quite a lot. And then Dragon Ball villains, like Cell, various other ones, Boo, even Vegeta. Full Metal Alchemist villains, specifically like Father and the Homunculi. Hunter x Hunter villains, Warhammer villains, and then Star Wars villains, which I know I was doing the Expanded Universe series, but I kind of had to prioritize other things. But I still want to cover a lot of Star Wars characters, so I'm going to do that in the future. And then lastly, it's just kind of like characters from franchises that I've already covered that I want to finish. Like I want to complete the whole franchise. So that's like your Junior Soprano, Jesse Pinkman, characters from things that I've already covered. Those are also going to be covered sooner rather than later. But all that being said, there are some that I can confirm for you that will be out soon. I don't want to give exact dates because, again, just like with Umbrella, which will be out this month, sometimes I get into a franchise and it ends up being a lot more than I expected, so I have to delay it a little bit. But that being said, Grand Theft Auto 4, the characters and themes of Grand Theft Auto 4, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, William Afton from Five Nights at Freddy's, Saruman from Lord of the Rings, the 4th season of Invincible, which I will be covering at the end of this month, Andor, I want to cover Andor when the Rogue One cut of Andor comes out next month. And yeah, those are some of the ones that you can expect to see relatively soon popping up in your feed. Again, if you don't watch some of the videos that I make because you're just not interested in them, totally fine. But I hope some of these interest you. I hope you're looking forward to some of these popping up in your feed here pretty soon. Now, another thing that I saw a fair few of you make comments on was my live appearances. Me sitting in this chair and appearing in every beginning and end of the videos that I make. And a lot of you talked about how it kind of ruined the mystique of the channel. And I understand that. I completely understand that. However, I did this for two specific reasons. And the first one is because faceless channels, as great as they are, very limiting. I have no face. I can't do anything that involves me personally. And a lot of those ideas that I explained to you in the previous video, I want to do in a more personal way. So, and some of the single video ideas that I have as well. So that's the main reason why I chose to start appearing in my videos. But the second reason is because there are a lot of people out there who have come under the impression over the years that I use an AI voice to make my videos, which has only gotten more and more loud as AI has become more and more prevalent. But I don't. I never have. Never will. And that's kind of part of why I decided to start doing this. Now, that hasn't been too effective. It has been, but it also hasn't been because for whatever reason, when I'm doing the voice, it is really hard for me to figure out how I should move. So I don't really do that very much, and I kind of need to get better at that. So, I'll try and improve on that in the future for anyone who's concerned that this is also an AI, but it's not. Now, another interesting one that I saw a few of you comment on was how long the videos are. And I get that. Don't always want to sit down and watch a hour, 2 hour long video. And I completely understand if you put that in your watch later list. In fact, I knew that a lot of you did that. You see it, you're like, oh, that looks great if I had the time, and you watch it later. I get that. What I'll say for video length is I don't design my videos in any way, like, based around length. So if a character, I go until I'm done writing. I write my script, and when it's done, it's done. So if that script ends up being 5 minutes long when it's recorded, or 5 hours long when it's recorded, it kind of is what it is. If that's what I feel needs to be said about the character, that's what I'll do. And something that goes hand in hand with that is a few of you commented on how I use like material from, material that you don't know about, so if, you know a character from a movie, but they appear in a book or a comic book, I will also talk about those materials as well. So it might be kind of hard to follow. I do try my best to make sure I integrate it as best as I can, but I could see how that could be the case. I've always seen my videos as kind of like, you love that character, so you want to know more about them. You want to absorb and understand them as well as you can. So you come and watch one of my videos. And the reason I do that is because I like to watch videos like that myself for things that I'm interested in. A great example is back when I was in the height of my Game of Thrones craze, when I was in love with all things Game of Thrones, Alt-Shift-X was my go-to guy. I watched all of his videos and they were fantastic. So that's why the links can be kind of long sometimes, why I include stuff that you might not know about, just so you can get that full understanding of the character, so you can learn as much as possible about the characters that you're interested in. And if I have to read long pages of a book in order to accomplish that, if I feel that's necessary, especially for things like, Sauron, for example, who most of you are exposed to the Lord of the Rings through the films. Not everyone has read through the book, and even less, and I understand why, I haven't read through the Silmarillion, it can be kind of a tough read. So, in the Sauron video, I chose to read all of the Alcalabeth, which is the portion of his story that talks about the downfall of Numenor and the role he played in that, which I thought is a really interesting part of his story that a lot of people wouldn't know about. So that's why also in those videos, I'll typically say, if you have read through this, go ahead and skip this part. because I'm not going to make you sit through something you already know. But for the people who haven't, I want to make sure they get to know everything there is to know about some of their favorite characters or characters that they're interested in learning more about. The last couple things that I wanted to say, though, were not so much criticisms, more so like criticisms and help at the same time, which criticism is already kind of help, but very helpful, like trying to help, get my videos out to more people, which were some suggestions of things I could potentially change. And a couple of those things were thumbnails, trying different kinds of thumbnails, because, my thumbnails are very basic, but basic in a good way. I've always liked that I didn't have to rely so much on clickbait. And I don't know, I like my thumbnails, and a lot of people, you do as well. And I have tried making more clickbaity thumbnails to see if that would help things, because, Gotta try everything at least once and see if it works out. And there was mixed results. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. But recently I went ahead and just like revamped all the ones that I did make more clickbaity and put them back to the standard Analyzing Evil style that you know and love. And part of that was like cohesion. I kind of want, that's me. When you see that Roboto condensed bold on a thumbnail, Analyzing Evil, it's me, and so I wanted to have that cohesion, especially because I did see a lot of comments when I was trying to switch up thumbnails of people saying, I didn't even know this was you because it's not the typical thumbnail. So I don't know though, maybe I'll make some different kinds of thumbnails in the future and see how they help out, but who knows, we'll see. The other thing was, some of you said, maybe I should cover more reliable characters, more well-known characters. And the thing is, I've covered a lot of them. I haven't covered all of them, but the ones that I haven't covered come from stuff that have a lot of material. So I do plan on doing that. And I do cover more relevant characters, whenever there's a new hot movie released or one that I really like when I go see it, or a lot of requests that you guys give me whenever they're released. I'll cover those as well. And those tend to do good. Not always, but most of the time they do. And that's nice. But another thing with the patronage aspect as well is, I don't, as much as I want to give all of you what you want to see all the time, I also kind of want to cover more obscure stuff as well. Turn you on to some things that you may not have seen yet. And maybe, when I do videos like that, I can experiment with kind of changing the format a little bit, kind of getting you to draw your attention towards something that you haven't seen yet that I think you should see, which, by the way, that I talked about it earlier, that Once Upon a Time in the West movie, one of the greatest movies of all time for a reason. And if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it at your earliest convenience if you're a cinema fan or a Western fan. Great movie, and Frank is a great character, just saying. But yeah, so I do want to cover more obscure stuff, more relevant stuff, popular stuff, not so popular stuff. I want to cover it all. Eventually I want to cover it all. And so long as you guys keep supporting me, hopefully I will. Circling back to support though, once again, thank you everyone for all the support you gave me in the last video and all the support you've given me over the years and will continue to give me. It was nice knowing that, I'm not washed up, that most of you think I still put out some pretty good stuff, and I'm happy to hear that. I just hope that you'll see it going forward, YouTube willing. With that being said, though, there's a lot more great stuff coming from me in the future, be sure of it, and I am definitely not stopping anytime soon. And if you'd like to see a lot more from me sooner rather than later, then consider signing up for the Patreon, becoming a patron. Even a $2 pledge a month is more than enough in my book. But even if you just watch my videos, that's also more than enough. I appreciate every single view I get, every comment I get, and all of you who have chosen to subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it more than you know. But this is the follow-up video to that previous video. If you guys have any other questions or comments or concerns, anything, feel free to let me know down in the comment section. And, maybe I'll make more videos like this in the future where I just kind of check in with you guys and talk about things with you. Maybe about picks, villains, what have you, who knows. But regardless, thank you all once again, and keep a lookout for the next episode of Analyzing Evil that you should be seeing in your feed in the near future. As always, everyone, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.